Resistance 2 is an alternate history game that takes place in the 1950s, and it's a different 1950s than what we remember. World War II never happened, and mysterious things were happening in Russia. They built a Great Wall, and in 1951 they broke out of this wall and swept across Europe, decimating the continent. And Resistance 1 focused around the battle for England. Resistance 2 takes place immediately following, but then jumps ahead 2 years later when the Chimerian forces are attacking the United States of America. And you take the role of Lieutenant Nathan Hale as he defends the United States from this alien monster force. Nathan Hale was part of a project called Project Abraham before the Chimera ever broke out of Russia. And it kind of showed the United States knew more than what they let on. And they were testing him, and he had a resistance to the Chimera virus thanks to a vaccine. He is then infected when he lands in England, and he gains some of these Chimerian traits. So he has the ability to regenerate and some other things that have happened to him. So in Resistance 2, the virus is raging inside of his body and is slowly taking him over, and he's beginning to transform, and thus he doesn't have very much time left fighting against the Chimera, because he soon may become a huge threat to humanity by evolving into one of them. The most kick-ass part of Resistance 2 is using the different weapons in every single mode and blowing Chimera to bits. We have a lot more gore in the game. You'll see guys explode from the shotgun. You'll see the splicer take arms and legs off. And there's nothing more satisfying than chucking a grenade and seeing the body parts go flying along with their weapon, land right next to you to pick it up to restock on ammo.
I've got a clear shot. I'll take him out from here.
So the beta has both our online competitive mode and online cooperative. It features 3 different areas in the competitive maps, including Oric, California, which has 4 or 5 maps that are in the beta, and then there's the Chicago, Illinois map, as well as the Bay Area Subdocks, which is a smaller 10-player map. And you can play any of the game modes: skirmish, core control, deathmatch, team deathmatch. There's matchmaking, there's level progression up to level 10. And then on the co-op side, we have the Oric map with randomized level play paths, so you can keep playing through it. You can play as any of the 3 classes we have, and you can level each of those classes up to level 10 and unlock and purchase upgrades and things like that. So it should give you a really nice taste of what the multiplayer has to offer, but there'll be a lot more in the final release. There's different zones that we have in each map. So you start in a certain zone and then you play through a path that is randomly determined. We also have end zones, which are kind of the epic boss encounters or epic encounters with several large elite Chimera that are really hard to bring down. And we always make sure you end on one of these epic notes so that you feel like you build up to something. Every time you play through co-op, you're probably going to get something a little bit different. And depending on the people you play with, the class mixture, what items people have unlocked, it makes it very replayable, and you never really see the same thing twice.
The perimeter alarm alerted a stalker. Break it and take it down.
The co-op's narrative is very modular, so players can experience it out of order. One of the biggest difficulties we have in thinking about designing a co-op game is, what do you do if your buddy is, halfway through and you haven't started yet? It's not very fun to jump halfway into the game or to go back and replay the first half. So we created this story to be modular, in that if you play with some people who are ahead of you and you haven't seen stuff, you're not going to really miss anything. You're going to get some new info. So it still takes about 20-25 hours to get through and see all the different mission briefings and collect all the different intel, but you can jump around. And you still have to unlock the levels, but you can play with your buddies too. So there's a lot. We did a lot to make sure that you would be able to still play with your friends no matter what, while at the same time not spoiling anything for yourself and never feel like you were running behind or seeing things out of order. The craziest gun in Resistance 2 has to be the Splicer. It's a weapon that was reverse engineered from Chimerian technology. It's a human weapon that shoots electromagnetic saw blades at enemies, and this is great for taking off limbs, heads, inflicting a bloody mess. They ricochet off of walls and spin back into the fight. You can also rev up the blade until it turns red hot and lodge it in an enemy, and they'll keep spinning inside of their body, spewing gore and inflicting more damage. So you can hit a big character with a couple of these blades and then switch over to another weapon and keep dealing more damage while the 2 blades keep spinning away inside them, which is really useful. The Grims are a dangerous force. One or two of them, you know, they probably aren't going to do much damage, but you know, they have that very like zombie tendency. You may, if you see one or two, you should be worried because there's a lot more coming. And the Grims, when you have them in packs of 30 or 40 or even more in co-op, can be pretty dangerous. And on the other hand, a lot of games feature, especially a lot of first-person shooters, feature small enemies that like crawl along the ground and you have to kind of aim down to shoot these swarm enemies. It's nice to have a taller one so you're not always just aiming at the ground trying to kill the swarm type enemies in the game, and you actually have them at your eye level so you can still kind of see the level and don't spend the whole time aiming at your feet. We've had skill points in Insomniac games since Spyro 2, so we've been doing them for years. And now that trophies are part of the PlayStation 3, we have integrated all the skill points over to trophies, so you'll be able to basically do anything you would do for a skill point before, and now you're going to get a trophy for it. So we definitely like that. There's still some cool unlockable stuff on the game disc as well for fans that are always trying to get all the cool concept art galleries and things like that. If you want to get the Platinum Trophy, you're going to have to get trophies across all 3 game modes, and that includes, you know, leveling up. There's one trophy that you don't get until you achieve the rank of Lieutenant, and you can gain experience towards that rank playing any of the 3 modes. So across all 3 modes, you gain rank, and that one will require you to play a little bit of everything. Some of the bosses don't require, you know, aren't just pump them full of lead to kill them. The Leviathan at E3 obviously is taking a ton of hits and it isn't really doing much damage to him, so you kind of have to figure out the way to take him down. A lot of the other bosses have their own attack patterns and are tricky, and some are very unconventional for games, but I don't want to spoil anything, but you have a good variety in the boss battles throughout the course of the game.
Command, we've secured the east entrance. Send ground teams to barricade the breach.
We are relaunching myresistance.net. Right now we have a beta version of the site going out for the public beta. On launch, we're going to release a newer site, and then we have some more features that will be coming in after that. We have some really cool Facebook-style features. We've got a ticker that kind of shows you what people are doing, and it'll eventually have in-game integration, so you'll see what your friends are actually doing in the game, and it will update you. There's something we have called a combat badge, which is basically your baseball card for the Resistance universe. It shows your avatar, and then, like, you know, you can pick a couple badges to put on it that show what you're good at and what you like to do. So maybe if you're a good single-player guy, you can show that you're in the single player. If you're in the co-op, you show that. If you like using the bullseye or the auger, you can pick which weapon you want to highlight. And these things unlock as you play through the game. So this integrates to the community site. If you've done certain things in the game, you'll have more options to put on your combat badge. There's a lot of things like that we've designed and we think aren't really available on any other game website, in addition to near real-time stats and a bunch of new stat categories and things like that you'll be able to dive into.
Echo 1 to command. Proceeding through gray territory. No survivors on site.
Game Trailers is premiering the new Resistance 2 trailer, and if you check out that trailer, there's some never-before-seen stuff in there, like one of our bosses called the Mother Spinner, and it is in the town of Twin Falls, and you get a brief glimpse of it. Players will be able to fight it when the game comes out on November 4th. I'm excited about Gears as well. There's no reason not to play both of these games. They're both going to be fantastic. I think what Resistance 2 offers is a very large campaign that has a lot of scale. It also offers a great co-op campaign that will keep you busy for a very long time, as well as a great competitive game. So if you're looking for the best bang for your buck, Resistance 2 offers more than any other shooter coming out in 2008. Resistance 2 will be available in North America on November 4th, and if you want to get access to the beta, which is going on right now, make sure you check out the Game Trailers newsletter.